NYPD meltdown. 31 officers hired illegally. The truth will shock you. This is Corruption Chronicles, my new series on crime and corruption. And tonight we will pull back the curtain on a scandal so profound, so deeply disturbing, it threatens to shatter the very foundations of law and order in America's deepest blue cities. This isn't just about a few bad apples, it's about a poison tree, and its bitter fruit is being harvested right now in the streets of New York and across the nation. I'm Tater, and you're listening to Corruption Chronicles.
You're watching Tater Thoughts, the no BS take on current events.
Folks, on a sweltering July morning, the heart of New York City's policing, One Police Plaza, didn't just feel the heat, it felt the implosion. An internal probe sensationally exposed by CBS News revealed the truth that should chill every single one of you to the bone. 31 individuals were sworn in as NYPD officers despite receiving final disqualification notices on their records. Think about that for a moment. Not just a minor red flag, not a technicality. We're talking documented offenses, undisclosed arrest, admitted drug use, even solicitation of prostitution, all in direct violation of state law. This wasn't some quiet backroom deal. It was, according to the NYPD itself, an unlawful act allegedly orchestrated by a single rogue inspector who bypassed due process and brought these questionable characters onto the force. But let's be clear, these egregious mishires didn't happen in a vacuum. This is the direct, unvarnished consequence of a city's long, agonizing slide into anti-police politics. Cast your mind back to the Defund the Police fervor of 2020. The Black Lives Matter protests, righteous in their anger, yes, but co-opted by radical elements whose calls for reform morphed into outright calls for abolition. The rank and file within the NYPD felt it deep in their bones. As New York Magazine traced, this fury wasn't new. It went all the way back to Bill de Blasio's 2014 critique of stop and frisk, a moment officers felt left them exposed, unprotected, on the very front lines of a hostile urban battlefield. The fallout? A staffing crisis years in the making. Data from 2023, widely reported by CBS News and the New York Post, paints a grim picture. The NYPD lost hundreds more officers than it could recruit. Commissioner Jessica Tisch, desperate to plug the bleeding, was forced to resort to desperate measures. She slashed college credit requirements. She relaxed academy standards. In all, just to keep the doors open. This wasn't about finding the best, it was about finding anyone. And yet, even with the bar dragged through the mud, retirements hit record highs. Seasoned troopers, the very bedrock of the department, aren't retiring to golf courses. They're trading precinct life for the relative sanity of the FBI or other federal agencies or well-paid private sector security work. Why? Because enduring a city hall that has too often openly vilified them on protest stages and in council chambers, the very people they swear to protect, simply isn't worth it anymore. It's a gut punch to the American spirit, a betrayal of public service, and a chilling warning for every city in this nation. And now the potential architect of the NYPD's ultimate dismantling strides onto the stage. Meet Zoran Mamdani, a 33-year-old Democratic socialist who stunned the establishment by routing Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary. This isn't just a progressive. This is a man who talks openly of dismantling policing as we know it. His flagship proposal? Carving off mental health, homelessness, and even some low-level calls into a separate, entirely new Department of Community Safety, stripping the NYPD of core functions it has performed for generations. This isn't just reform, it's a vision born of DSA doctrine, a radical ideology that was celebrated by the far left in 2020, but largely abandoned by mainstream Democrats when crime rates inevitably skyrocketed. Today, it stands poised to collide head-on with a police force already reeling from rock-bottom morale and dangerously depleted ranks. The alarm bells are already clanging. PBA President Patrick Henry, never one to mince words, has demanded that these dedicated officers have already proven their value and that they be treated like the professionals that they are, warning CBS News that a purge of the 31 officers would punish cops for their department failures that many believe are a direct result of the political climate. Union chiefs, speaking to New York Magazine off the record, whisper of mass walkouts and sickouts, recalling the chilling images from the early de Blasio years when officers literally turn their back and protest at police funerals. The message is stark. If Mamdani's vision becomes reality, New York streets could descend into further unimaginable chaos. And let's not forget the horrifying implication for victims. Even as survivors of domestic violence have condemned Mamdani's past remarks opposing police intervention in abuse cases as dangerous rhetoric that puts victims at profound risk, as reported by Fox News. This isn't theoretical. It's a terrifying glimpse into a future where the thin blue line is not just frayed, but actively dismantled by a dangerous ideology. The New York Post reports that many cops are ready to vote with their feet, threatening to retire en masse if a socialist mayor further defunds and demonizes their police force. But the warning, my friends, extends far beyond the 5 boroughs. Cast your gaze westward to Minneapolis, another deep blue city that has become a grim, living laboratory for radical policing experiments. After the tragic death of George Floyd in 2020, Minneapolis became the very epicenter of the Defund movement. The result? A catastrophic exodus of officers. The Minneapolis Police Department's sworn ranks plummeted by nearly 40% after 2020, dropping from 920 officers in 2019 to a low of 560 in early 2024, according to Police One. While they've seen a slight uptick recently, reaching 588 officers by May of 2025, as reported by NPR News, they remain shockingly below their mandated minimum. They too are grappling with a severe police hiring problem, forced to offer historic pay raises and recruitment bonuses just to attract new blood. And now, as Minneapolis gears up for its 2025 mayoral election, voters face a similar chilling choice. Among the candidates is Minnesota State Senator Omar Fatah, a self-proclaimed democratic socialist whose past anti-police rhetoric echoes Mamdani's. Fatah, like Mamdani, has advocated for stripping police of certain responsibilities, proposing investments in alternative public safety responses, and criticizing police cooperation with federal agencies such as ICE. The Star Tribune has highlighted the intense backlash Fatah has faced, but his policy positions remain clear. A continuation of the reimagining of public safety that for countless Americans has tragically translated into a breakdown of law and order. So is there a clear warning for voters in other deep blue cities across America? 1,000 times yes. The crisis in New York and Minneapolis serve as a stark, undeniable testament to the catastrophic repercussions of anti-police politics. When those sworn to protect and serve are vilified, when their resources are slashed, and their very authority is undermined, the result is predictable. A demoralized force, a hiring crisis, an influx of unqualified individuals, and ultimately, a terrifying decline in public safety. The choice facing voters in these upcoming elections isn't merely about political parties. It's about whether they choose to double down on failed ideological experiments that actively dismantle law enforcement, or if they will, at long last, prioritize the safety and security of the communities by supporting the brave men and women who put their lives on the line every single day. The stakes for the NYPD, for Minneapolis, and for every other city contemplating this perilous path could not be higher. It is your city. Wake up, take it back. Name one city where the deep blue establishment has ever created a great city. This is Tater, and you've been listening to Corruption Chronicles. Stay vigilant.